The phone clattered to the floor, screen cracking on impact. Nurse Jennifer couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't look away from those eyes. Sarah Mitchell's eyes, the patient who was supposed to be dead, had locked onto hers. Not the glazed, empty stare of a corpse. These eyes were alive, aware, and filled with something that wasn't quite human anymore. Jennifer's legs finally obeyed, stumbling backward until her spine hit the cold wall. Her breath came in short, panicked gasps. The girl's lips began to move, slowly at first, like rusted hinges creaking open. Then words came, but not in Sarah's voice. This voice was layered, multiple tones speaking in unison like a chorus trapped in one throat. "You hurt me." Jennifer's hand fumbled along the wall, searching desperately for the door. I was just following orders. The doctor." "You all hurt me," the voices continued. Sarah's body remained perfectly still on the bed, but her eyes tracked Jennifer's every movement. The needles, the shocks, the straps cutting into my skin. You watched. You did nothing. "Please," Jennifer whispered. "I'll get help. Sarah sat up. Not the slow, groggy movement of someone waking. She rose in one fluid, unnatural motion, her spine perfectly straight, head tilted at an impossible angle. The leather restraints that should have been fastened lay open on the bed. She was certain she'd checked them. They'd been secure, tight enough to leave marks. "There is no help," Sarah said, her bare feet touching the cold floor. "Not for you, not anymore." The lights in the hallway began to flicker. One by one, the fluorescent tubes burst with sharp cracks, plunging the corridor into deeper darkness. From other rooms came sounds, patients stirring, mumbling, some beginning to scream. Jennifer finally found the doorknob and wrenched it open, stumbling into the hallway. She ran, her shoes squeaking on the linoleum, her heart hammering against her ribs. Behind her, she heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, getting closer. She risked a glance back. Sarah was walking down the corridor, hospital gown flowing around her thin frame. But she wasn't alone. Other doors were opening, other patients emerging, some Jennifer recognized as dead. Patients who had died weeks, months ago under Dr. Harrison's care. They all moved with the same jerky, puppet-like gait, and they all had the same hollow, burning eyes. Jennifer burst through the door to the staff office and slammed it shut, throwing the deadbolt. Her hands shook as she grabbed the landline phone. 911, what's your emergency? Blackwood Asylum. The patients, they're... The line went dead. Not even static, just silence. She looked at the phone. The cord had been cut, cleanly, recently, as if someone knew she'd try to call. A soft knock came at the door. "Nurse Jennifer," Sarah's layered voice called from the other side. "You can't hide from what you've done." "I didn't do anything," Jennifer shouted back, tears streaming down her face. "I was just doing my job." "You were complicit," another voice joined in, then another. Soon it was a chorus of voices, all the patients who had suffered in this place. "You knew what was happening. You knew the treatments were torture, but you did nothing. You just followed orders." The doorknob began to turn. Even though Jennifer had locked it, the metal groaned as if invisible hands were twisting it from the other side. Jennifer backed away, looking frantically around the office for another exit. There, a window. She rushed to it, unlocking the latch and shoving it open. Cold rain poured in, soaking her scrubs, but she didn't care. She was 3 stories up, but there was a fire escape just a few feet to the left. If she could just climb out and... Jennifer screamed and kicked, but the grip was iron strong. She looked down. Sarah had crawled under the door. No, her body had somehow flattened, bones bending impossibly, sliding through the gap like liquid. Now she was reforming, pulling herself up, her joints popping back into place with sickening cracks. "Where will you run?" Sarah asked, her head rotating 180 degrees to face Jennifer while her body remained backward. This asylum has been feeding on suffering for decades, and tonight it's still hungry. Other hands reached through the door, fingers pushing through the cracks, peeling the wood away like paper. The dead patients were forcing their way in, their movements coordinated, purposeful. Jennifer tried to scream again, but no sound came out. Sarah's hand was around her throat now, cold as ice, squeezing just tight enough to silence her. "Don't worry," Sarah whispered, her face inches from Jennifer's. "You'll join us soon, and then you'll understand. You'll feel what we felt. Every needle, every shock, every moment of helpless terror." The office lights exploded in a shower of sparks. 20 minutes later, Dr. Harrison's car skidded to a stop in Blackwood's parking lot. He'd driven recklessly through the storm, his mind racing with Jennifer's panicked call. A patient dead? That shouldn't have happened. The treatment was controlled, measured. But as he stepped out of his car, something felt wrong. The asylum was dark. Every window was black, not a single light burning, and it was quiet, too quiet. He couldn't even hear the usual sounds of patients, the shouting, the sobbing, the constant background noise that defined this place. Dr. Harrison approached the entrance, his expensive shoes splashing through puddles. The front door hung open, swaying slightly in the wind. "Hello?" he called out, stepping inside. "Jennifer? Where are you?" His voice echoed through the empty corridors. He pulled out his phone and turned on the flashlight, the beam cutting through the darkness. As he walked deeper into the building, he noticed things were wrong. Very wrong. Patient room doors stood open, beds were empty, and on the walls, written in something dark and wet, were words. "You knew. You all knew." Dr. Harrison's blood ran cold. He turned to leave, to run back to his car and get as far away from this place as possible. But the front door was closed now, and standing in front of it, backlit by lightning flashing through the windows, were dozens of silhouettes. His patients, the ones he'd experimented on, tortured under the guise of treatment, killed through negligence and cruelty. They were all here, waiting for him. At the front of the group stood Sarah Mitchell, her hospital gown stained with blood, her eyes burning with an otherworldly light. "Hello, doctor," she said in that terrible chorus of voices. "Ready for your treatment?" Dr. Harrison tried to speak, to reason with them, but his voice failed him. The patients moved forward as one, their footsteps echoing in perfect synchronization. The last thing Dr. Harrison saw before the darkness consumed him was Sarah's smile, wide and terrible and full of justice too long denied. Epilogue. The next morning, police arrived at Blackwood Mental Asylum after a concerned family member reported they couldn't reach anyone at the facility. They found the building empty. Every patient, every staff member, every doctor gone. No bodies, no blood, no signs of struggle. Just empty rooms and that message on the wall. You knew. You all knew. The asylum was shut down immediately, the building condemned. But late at night, security guards patrolling the grounds report seeing lights in the windows, hearing screams, and sometimes, just sometimes, they see shadows moving in the abandoned wards. The official report called it a mass evacuation due to structural failure. But the guards know better. They know that Blackwood Asylum is still occupied, still operating, still administering its treatments. Only now, the patients are in charge. And the doctors? They're learning what it feels like to be helpless, to be strapped down, to receive shock after shock after shock. Forever. If these stories sent chills down your spine, don't vanish into the darkness without hitting that like button. Share your scariest experience in the comments below, because your story might be featured next. And remember, the scariest thing is missing out. So subscribe now, before the next nightmare finds you.